It's great to be here this morning. Thank you very, very much. And I'm going to be speaking from a somewhat different perspective. Nubar had just said that ecosystems are not built, they emerge, but I certainly think that they can be reinforced. The global economy, the growth in the global economy in the 21st century, I think well into the 22nd century, is coming from the so-called knowledge sectors, the innovation sectors. Life sciences, biomed are part of those knowledge sectors. So as we are really depending more and more, not just on what is improving our quality of life, but what is driving our economy, and depending on innovation, we're looking a lot more at what is becoming called the science of innovation. And MIT has taken a tremendous leadership role in this. But it's thinking about what enables innovation, what accelerates innovation, or what is a barrier to innovation. So what I want to talk a little bit today is what are we doing here in Massachusetts to accelerate your collective ability to innovate, and what are we gleaning or taking from this new science of innovation in driving how we do our work, and hopefully what contribution are we making to that knowledge. So let me sort of tell you really quickly what the Life Sciences Initiative is. In 2008, Governor Patrick signed into law an initiative that contemplates investing over a 10-year period $1 billion in the life sciences sectors here in Massachusetts. The Life Sciences Center, of which I'm the founding CEO, so you can either give me credit or blame for what you see here today, is the agency that is administering this initiative. And our goals are, as you can see, very heavily economic developmentally driven. But it is our belief that if we are investing in the growth of innovation, we will not only improve the quality of life in the global community by bringing really important new therapies to market, but there will also be some real economic value that is created here in Massachusetts. When I'm talking about the life sciences today, what am I really talking about? For purposes of our initiative, it's biotech, medical devices, which you may not know is actually the third largest export of the state of Massachusetts, diagnostics, pharma, and bioinformatics. And we're also talking about a really broad range of skills. So not just science and engineering, but finance, IT, logistics management, all of the skills that this big tent of the life sciences really needs. Very quickly, I'm not going to go into great detail except to say that this initiative is not $1 billion in cash sitting in a bank. And I'm not walking around with a checkbook, so don't mob me after the presentation, because I can't just sort of write you a check if I really like what you're doing. But what this initiative does enable us to do is use a portfolio of tools that really are very helpful to us in enabling and accelerating the pace of innovation. The Life Sciences Center is what we call a quasi-public entity. That means that we are funded by the state, but we are not a state agency. We can use many of the tools from the private sector to do our work. We're governed by a board. You can see here it's a multidisciplinary board, and it represents the fact that we are a public-private partnership. So we have our stakeholders represented from academia, from industry, from the venture world, as well as members of the governor's cabinet. And I think more importantly, and sort of the secret sauce for this initiative has been the very, very high level of engagement by the expert life sciences community. All of our decisions are really very much influenced by this wisdom of crowds, if you will. A scientific advisory board that's chaired by Harvey Lodish here at the Whitehead Institute of MIT, but with experts from academia, from industry, so you'll see companies like Pfizer, Draper Labs represented. The venture capital world is very strongly represented on our advisory board, and some serial entrepreneurs. So again, this very broad, very multidisciplinary, bottoms-up decision-making that really captures what the important trends are and what the needs are. So, $1 billion for a state the size of Massachusetts is a pretty big commitment. It's a big number from the perspective of the lay public. But for all of us in this room, we know that $1 billion won't quite get a new drug to market. So when we were thinking about what's the right role and how can we create impact over 10 years with $1 billion, we decided that what we would focus on is innovation capacity. And this is where we get sort of to the science of innovation. Innovation capacity is actually a term that came into use in the 80s. It's been expanded, it's been refined. You'll see sort of one of the more recent definitions. It's the ability to produce and commercialize over a sustained period of time a flow of innovative technology. So it's all of the components that go along with that. Why invest in innovation capacity? Because all of the stakeholders benefit from innovation capacity. The ecosystem that is created is attractive, it's beneficial, and it harnesses and benefits all of the members of our community. More importantly, what we know is that geographies that have a strong innovative or have a high innovation capacity have a number of characteristics. They grow economically faster than other areas. They attract highly skilled talent, and they experience rising incomes for their citizenry and lots of trade. So if you think back to the objectives of this initiative, this was a good place for us to focus and a place for us to get a lot of leverage, because now all the boats will rise with the tide as we strengthen the capacity here in Massachusetts. So what does that look like? How are we implementing that strategy? And what do we know about what it takes to build innovation capacity? We know that a number of the enablers or the building blocks are represented here. And this is where we have targeted our portfolio of investments. So the first is translational research. We have programs to strengthen partnerships between academia and industry. We have to have a good flow of science that can come out of academia and has the potential to be commercialized. I think you heard some conversation about that today from Pfizer. Many companies are now looking to form these partnerships, sort of external discovery and development. Secondly, entrepreneurship, critical, and I think more critical than many people have realized in the past, to innovation. An entrepreneurial culture, a vibrant pipeline of entrepreneurs, the ability for those young companies to grow. Entrepreneurs are critical to a high-performing ecosystem. And in talking with many of the large companies that have come here to Massachusetts recently, our vibrant entrepreneurial community is a big part of the reason that they want to be here. They want to be part of that kind of community. So we have a lot of programs to encourage entrepreneurship and to help young companies grow. Thirdly, infrastructure. Some of it basic. I wish we could do something about the T, but I'm sorry. It's not my responsibility. But things ranging from Lab Central, right up the street, to the new Center for Salivary Diagnostics at the Forsyth Institute, right around the corner, to lots of new research space, incubating space, biomanufacturing space, infrastructure, a very important role that we at the state can play. Workforce development. You need talent in the innovation sectors. You need talent at lots of levels, lots of skills, very well distributed and accessible. We're putting a lot of money into the schools around Massachusetts, the middle schools, the high schools, the community colleges, the four-year universities, to make sure that the talent is there to support the innovation capacity of Massachusetts. And finally, collaboration. You know, innovation is a bottoms-up process. It's a collaborative process. We like to say 1 + 1 = 11. And I think that if the Life Sciences Initiative has done one thing better than anything else that we've done, we've been helpful in coalescing what has always been a world-class cluster into a world-class ecosystem. And we are now, hands down, in an undisputed way, the #1 life sciences ecosystem in the world. And as Newbar said, that means that the components work together. They work well individually, but we get the leverage that comes from working together. So really quickly, this is what our investment portfolio looks like. About $3.5 million investment in collaboration, $6 million in our school systems at the K through 12 level, $12 million in voc tech schools, $12 million in internships to give students hands-on experience in companies, $40 million in entrepreneurship and funding for early stage companies, about $44 million in translational research projects, $56 million in advanced manufacturing, $90 million in tax incentives. So a lot of the companies that you see coming to Massachusetts have benefited from this. $300 million in capital projects. So about $565 million of public money on the street. But here's the really good news. Very, very high leverage on those dollars. $1.7 billion in matching investment from the private sector. So if we're investing in capacity, we find that the private sector will come in alongside us to continue to grow that. We're building across the state. Well, I would agree that Kendall Square is the epicenter of our life sciences ecosystem. There's capacity and there's skills that really do speak to the supply chain and the value chain for life sciences all around Massachusetts. And we are trying to really invest in those regional competencies so that you can find the resources that you need all around the state. We are not therapeutic specific. We really invest in a way that spans disease areas. So really quickly, what do we know about the benefit of doing this? What's happened over the last 6 years of this initiative? We've been very instrumental in creating new research space here in Massachusetts. 1.5 million square feet of new research space we've enabled. We have funded a lot of innovative incubating and biomanufacturing spaces all around the state. At BU, the Photonics Lab, at UMass Boston, the Venture Development Center, at UMass Lowell, M2D2, which is focused specifically on incubating med device companies, as I said, Lab Central right up the street. We have enabled a lot of the growth that you are seeing around you here in Kendall Square, but also across the state. Cubist, Shire, out in Lexington, Perkin-Elmer, Biogen. Biogen has created 900 new jobs in Massachusetts in 3 years. It's really phenomenal. Now, none of this was happening before 2008. So what we had was necessary, but it wasn't sufficient. So what we have seen since 2008 is what had been sort of a drip of companies wanting to come and be part of this ecosystem has become a waterfall. And I mean, just on Tuesday, we welcomed Wuxi, which is a huge Chinese CRO. It's been a partner for companies and academic institutions in Massachusetts for years, but now they want to be here. They want to physically be here. So these are young companies, small companies, and you are now, as entrepreneurs, part of a really, really vibrant ecosystem. Employment growth, 17.5% in the life sciences in the last 6 years. We are now the most life sciences dense state in the country. We have per capita more people working in life sciences than any other state. We have about 113,000 people working in life sciences. This is just directly. This is not even counting the indirect jobs. This sector has become as big as the construction industry, total construction industry. This was not the case. You know, there are a lot of people who say, but you know, what really matters is, you know, we have our academic institutions and our hospitals and we have venture, but you know what? They were here in 2008 and all of this was not here. So it's this bringing it all together. It's putting, as I like to say, some salt in the simmering pot. We now have all of the big life sciences companies here. Hardly any of them were here in 2008. And what's more fascinating is of the 21 leading biopharma companies that are here, half of them now have 1,000 employees or more. And hardly any of them had any presence in the state, maybe a research lab. If you've been reading the paper, you know, you're hearing now that not only are companies bringing their R&D labs here, they're moving their US headquarters here. And so we've heard some great news about Merck, Pfizer expanding its strategic operations here, Baxter moving its U.S. pharmaceutical headquarters from Chicagoland here, Shire moving its U.S. headquarters from Pennsylvania here, and on and on. GE from healthcare from New Jersey here. Our goal, our experiment, if you will, was to expand the innovation capacity. We wanted to make Massachusetts the place to be. We think we've been successful. We hope that that is benefiting all of you. My end goal in all of this is to make Massachusetts the place where we innovate innovation, where we figure out how to do it better, faster, with less risk, with higher rates of success. And we hope that our investments in the baseline capacity here in the state will somehow enable and support that.